Hello friends, this is Adam with Movie Guide 365, and in today's video, I'm going to go over 10 movies from the 90s that I would love to see come to 4K. Every so often, I like to do a wish list video that talks about movies that I personally would love to see come to 4K. So for this one, I thought I would focus on movies from the 1990s. The 90s had some great films, a lot of action, sci-fi, adventure, dramas, comedies. I mean, there was some really stellar stuff. And while we have gotten a good, healthy dose of movies from that decade on the 4K format, of course, we as collectors always want more. And before I begin, just a couple of quick notes. On this list, I'm not going to include a very much well-requested, and also here on this channel, film Twister. My main reason is I have a hunch that is coming to 4K in the very near future, especially with the release of Twisters. I fully expect to see the original make its way to 4K as kind of like, the synergy. They love synergy. So I'm not going to include it on this particular list, but I just wanted to mention it anyway. And also, there are some titles in this video that come from the 20th Century Fox catalog, which, as we all know, is owned by Disney, who have not been exactly forthcoming with diving into that catalog. I mean, 20th Century Fox has decades worth of films that would make for really awesome 4K releases, and it's just collecting dust. But who knows, maybe this recent deal with Disney and Sony might change things. We can only hope. But yeah, I have a couple of those movies on this list I wanted to go over. As always, I encourage you to put in the comments section below, what would your movies from the 90s that would you love to see come to 4K be? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's dive right into my first pick. My first pick is a movie that I consider to be underrated, but I really enjoyed it. And I think it definitely needs a fresh coat of paint. And I believe it is owned by Warner Brothers. So there is a possibility it could show up on 4K. I'm talking about Assassins, starring Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas. I really enjoy this movie. I think it's a great 90s action thriller. There's some wonderful action scenes. There's some great cinematography in this. And I think it definitely needs an upgrade visually and audio-wise. It's very dated on the Blu-ray, but I think there's an outside chance we could see this one on the 4K format. I really like the movie. As I said, it's very underappreciated in my opinion, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in the comments if you feel the same way. So yeah, I would love to see Assassins on 4K. Now, I've seen some rumblings online that my next pick is actually on 4K on Disney Plus outside of the States. The Sixth Sense from director M. Night Shyamalan. I'm very hopeful this means that we are inching towards an actual physical 4K release, because arguably this is one of Shyamalan's best films. I mean, it's his first feature-length movie. So it would make sense for that, for that reason alone, to put one of his best well-known movies on 4K. I think it would look great. I think the HDR would really give those black levels a nice dialed-in look, and it would just look great. I mean, visually, palette-wise, I think it could also use some refinement on 4K, but I think this is primed for a physical 4K release. Hopefully things are moving, they're in motion, so maybe we'll see this one sooner rather than later. My next pick is something I watched recently on Blu-ray, and it definitely needs an upgrade as well. And I feel that, I don't know if I would necessarily call it an underrated movie, but bringing it to the 4K format, I think would bring some newfound attention to it. I'm talking about Falling Down, starring Michael Douglas. It's kind of, I would say, a little eerie how relevant this movie is even today. You could definitely make some parallels. So I think let's bring it into the 2020s on a brand new 4K transfer. Let's go ahead and upgrade the audio too. I think it definitely could benefit from it. And let's look at it again from a fresh perspective many, many years later. What better way to do it than with a 4K release? So yes, Falling Down, I would love to see this get an upgrade, and I'm hopeful it's going to happen one day. The next movie from the 90s that I would love to see get a 4K upgrade would be from director Gus Van Sant's Good Will Hunting, starring Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. I think this is one of those movies where it's a matter of when as opposed to if it arrives on 4K. I think we're teeing up for it now. If it doesn't happen this year, maybe next year at the most, I don't know. But I think such a, I would say, well-regarded movie definitely deserves a 4K upgrade. I think it is going to happen, but I watched this one maybe about a year ago. It's really such a great movie, but it definitely could use some TLC in the disc quality. So we'll see if it happens. Once again, I'm pretty confident we're going to see this one sooner rather than later, but I would love to see Good Will Hunting come to 4K. Of all the movies on this list, my next pick is probably the least likely to get a 4K upgrade, but I'm going to include it anyway. Fight Club. I think a lot of people would agree that this movie definitely needs a 4K bump, but there are a couple things, of course, working against it. The first being a 20th Century Fox title, so we know Disney's in no rush to instigate a 4K release for this. And also, I think I read recently that director David Fincher wasn't exactly keen on revisiting this one. So there are a couple things, as I said, working against it, but this is a wish list video. I would still love to see this one on 4K, and I know a lot of you watching would probably agree with it. So Fight Club, this sadly will probably have to remain a wish list item, but I would love to see it come to 4K at some point in the future. My next pick is from director Paul Thomas Anderson, and that is going to be Magnolia. Now, up until recently, a lot of his films were not available on 4K. I believe the first one was Phantom Thread a bunch of years ago, and recently Punch Drunk Love, which came as part of the Columbia Classics Collection Volume 4. And there's also rumors of Boogie Nights and There Will Be Blood arriving on 4K in the near future. So I thought I would select Magnolia because I feel it's one of his most underrated movies out there. Visually, this is a beautiful looking film, and I think it would look absolutely gorgeous on 4K. And I would not say no to a Dolby Atmos upgrade either. So yeah, Magnolia on 4K, it's a great movie. I would love to see it come to the format. Hopefully it's in the cards maybe within the next year or two. And I'm very happy he seems to have warmed up to his movies coming to 4K in general. So yes, Magnolia on 4K, let's make it happen. I'm a little surprised that my next pick is not already on physical 4K, and it's also one of my personal favorite of the James Bond movies, GoldenEye, with Pierce Brosnan as James Bond. Now, other than the Daniel Craig Bond films, none of the other Bond movies are on 4K, at least physically. I believe many of them are 4K digital, but I don't think that they support any form of HDR Dolby Vision, so it's just a resolution bump. But I say, hey, let's give the entire Bond library a 4K workover, full HDR Dolby Vision. I would even love to see an audio upgrade. I'm not, expecting miracles, but yeah, it just seems weird that one of the greatest Bond movies of the 90s was still not on 4K yet. But this is a thing that maybe one day it'll happen. I mean, who knows? I believe MGM is doing whatever with Amazon, so who knows if this will even happen. But yeah, GoldenEye on 4K, I would love to see this happen one day. Unfortunately, my next pick is another hostage of the 20th Century Fox catalog, and it's still, I feel, a very beautifully made film, and it deserves a 4K upgrade. Last of the Mohicans. Director Michael Mann is still one of my favorite directors. I mean, I just love how he put this whole thing together. And the Blu-ray, it's okay, but it looks so much better on 4K. I think the cinematography alone warrants a 4K upgrade. Give it that full HDR infused palette. I think it would look gorgeous. And this, probably asking way too much for an audio upgrade too, but I would love to see this get a 4K bump. I think it deserves it. It's a well-made film. It's beautiful to look at, and it's a movie that I would just love to add to my 4K collection. When you think of director Tim Burton, you definitely get some certain imagery in your mind, but you can't deny that his visual style is, at many times, it seems tailor-made for the 4K formats. I think, honestly, a 4K upgrade of Edward Scissorhands, unfortunately another 20th Century Fox title, would look stunning. This is another title I believe is 4K digitally with no HDR, but let's give this one a full workover, put it on physical 4K. I can just imagine what HDR would do to the colors on this. It would just really give you that beautiful, more vivid palettes. Oh, this movie it's such a beautiful, it's really beautiful. And I think a full 4K workover would really do this film many, many favors. There's a lot of Tim Burton movies that are still, pending as far as 4K releases, but Edward Scissorhands, I think, would be on the top of my personal list. And for the last of the 1990 movies that I would love to see get a 4K upgrade, It's also going to go to one of my personal favorite movies from that decade, LA Confidential. This is also one of those films that I firmly believe is a matter of when as opposed to if. I think we will definitely see this one, hopefully sooner rather than later. I love this film. It's such a noir style thriller. It's got a great visual aesthetic, which I think HDR, if it's properly refining that palette, would look gorgeous. And let's go ahead and give it an audio upgrade as well. But I think this movie is so well regarded, it's still a little surprising that it's not yet on 4K. I'm a believer we're going to see it. I think it's going to happen very soon. I have no knowledge or basis to judge that on, but I think LA Confidential on 4K is definitely one of my top picks for that decade to arrive on the format. So those are 10 1990s movies that I would love to see get a 4K upgrade. Now it's your turn in the comment section below to let me know what movies from that decade you would love to personally see on 4K. Sound off down below. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.